Year 2. It is Wednesday, 24th of February, and it's time for Phonics with Mrs. Wood. And it's Wednesday. What does Wednesday mean? It means it's Tricky Word Wednesday, so pop on your tricky word hats, and off we go. We've had a whole week off, so let's see if we can still remember all those tricky words that we learnt before the half-term break. Okay, so let's start with tricky word trucks. And let's go with phase 5, all those tricky words that we have learned previously. 11 words, let's see if we can remember them now. I am in need of some sunshine, so I'm going to keep the sunshine. I'm going to go for this truck. I'm going to go for yellow today. So are we ready? Shout out the tricky word if you can recognise it. Mrs. as in Mrs. Wood. Mr. as in Mr. Kiddle. Oh, like, oh dear, oh no. Looked. This is a tricky one. People. Called. Asked. This is our tricky one. This is in our sentence yesterday. Should. If we know should, we should know could and would. Next one, if we know should, we know would. Could. Oh, now this is tricky. This is there, but this is belonging there, their coat, their hat. Okay, did you manage to get them all correct? Okay, right, I wonder if we can remember all the time ago, before half term, and those tricky words that we had that last tricky word Wednesday. So get your whiteboard and pen ready, because Mrs. Wood has got written down the board underneath my stars the tricky words that we learned the last tricky word Wednesday before half term. So underneath each star, I have got 4 tricky words that we have learned previously. So let's have a little look to see if we can remember how to read them and how to write them. Look. I'm. Now this is a contraction. And can you remember what a contraction is? It's when we push out a letter and we join 2 words together and replace that letter with an apostrophe. So instead of I am, we've got I'm. Oh, this is a very tricky one. Thought. Very. And finally, here. So Mrs. Wood is going to call one of our tricky words out from before the half term and see if you can remember how to spell it. Okay, so let's see. On your whiteboard, write the word I'm. Remember, I'm is short for I am. And we pushed out the letter A and replaced it with an apostrophe. I'm. Oh, I'm feeling hungry today. I'm. Oh, I'm very cold today. I'm. Okay, did you manage to get it correct? We should have. I apostrophe M. I'm. Okay. Oh, now Mrs. Wood just said that she was very cold today. Can you read the word? Very. Can you write the word very as well? Very. Oh, it's very chilly today. Very. So we should have on our whiteboard I'm and very. Okay. Remember what our next 2 tricky words were? We had a very difficult one here. That was a tricky one, a long one. That was a tricky word. And then over here, you can just see 1 letter popping out. It was here. On your whiteboard, you 2, write the word here. Mrs. Wood will cover it up again. I'm here and very we should have written down so far. And the last one. Oh, wow. I'll be very impressed if we can remember how to spell this word. We might need a little bit of help road up for this one. Okay, let's have a little look. So let's read it first of all. The word is thought. Mrs. Wood thought that all of her children would remember the tricky word thought. I'm going to cover it back up, and can you write it on your whiteboard, thought? And then don't forget to send me a photograph and let me know if you got all of those 4 tricky words correct. Okay, so thinking on to today's tricky words then. Now, we're not actually doing phase 5 tricky words today. Mrs. Wood has chosen today to talk about contractions. So, just like what we looked at before half term, one of our tricky words was I'm. Now, a contraction is where we join two words together to shorten it, and then the letter that we've squeezed out, we pop in an apostrophe. So usually if we're writing quite a formal letter or an important email, we wouldn't use contractions. This is usually the way that we talk rather than the way that we write. So we might say I'm, but in an email or a letter we'd say I am. So we're going to have a little look today at different contractions. And I've got 5 that are going to be our tricky words this week. And some of those are in our spellings. Okay, so the first one, I've got 2 words. I've got I have. Now, how would I shorten I have to one word? How would I squeeze it together, push out a letter, and add an apostrophe to shorten it? So when we are speaking everyday life, we often don't say I have, we say I've. So I have becomes I've. Tell your grown-ups which 2 letters I've squeezed out there and pushed out. So I've squeezed out more than one letter there. So I have has become I've. Write I've on your whiteboard. And don't forget, a little apostrophe, which is just like a little comma in the air. I've. So I've is your first tricky word today. I have becomes I've. So next one, I've got 2 words again that I'm going to squeeze together, push out a letter, 1, maybe 2, and then replace those with an apostrophe. Can you remember what it's called? Let me hear you. An apostrophe. So what is becomes what? What is the matter? What's the matter? So what letter have I got rid of here? Which letter have I pushed out of the word and replaced with my apostrophe? So instead of saying what is, I've got what. So your next tricky word right on your board is what. So not what is, what. What's the matter? What's for lunch? Okay, next one. So we've got that is. So if we squeeze that and is together and we push out a letter, what's that going to become? So we're going to squeeze out a letter, replace it with an apostrophe, and then what's going to happen? That is becomes that's. That is my favourite. That's my favourite. That is my coat. That's my coat. Mean the same thing. But we've got 2 words and we've pushed them together and we've got rid of the letter I. So we've squeezed the letter I out, replaced it with an apostrophe. So that is becomes that. I did not do it. What would did not become? I did not do it. What would that then become? I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I did not do it. They mean the same thing. But which letter have we gotten rid of? What was it of the letter O? Replaced it with an apostrophe. So we've got didn't. So did not becomes didn't. So write that one down on your board as well. Okay. Next one. So we've had I've, what, that, didn't. And our final one. That is not my water bottle. Is not. What does is not become? Which letter do you think we might squeeze out there? Is not. Is not becomes isn't. That isn't my water bottle. That is not my water bottle. We've pushed out the letter O and replaced it with an apostrophe. So is not becomes isn't. So we should have 5 tricky words from today written on our whiteboard. Okay, year 2. And we should have didn't, isn't, I, and what. But what Mrs. Wood has done on the board, on my spinner, I have got the words originally, so what they are originally written like. What I would like you to do is, whichever I land on with my spinner, you're going to write the shortened, contracted version of the word. So I've got that is, which becomes that's. I've got did not, that becomes didn't. I've got what is, that becomes what. I've got I have, that becomes I've. And I've got is not, that becomes isn't. Okay, so let's spin the wheel and let's see where we land. Are we ready? So I've landed on what is. So what does what is become? So how do we shorten what is? So on your whiteboard, write down what we write for what is. So shortening what is, contracting it. So pushing out a letter in an apostrophe. What is, what would that become? Okay, what is will become what. You should have on your whiteboard what. Okay, let's go again. Okay, next one. Is not. How do we shorten is not? Is not. That is not my water bottle. Is not. How do we shorten that? Is not. So is not would become isn't. That isn't my coat. That isn't my hat. Okay, next one. Hat is not. Did not. I did not do it. How would we shorten did not? Using our apostrophe and our contraction. I did not do it. Write it down. I didn't do it. Didn't. Didn't. Right, so we've had that one. So we've landed on I have a new hat. How would we shorten I have? I've. So I have becomes I've. We've got one left. So we've had I've, what, isn't, didn't. Oh, perfect. So we've landed on that is. Oh, that's a nice jumper. That is a nice bag. How would I shorten that is? That's. Okay, so you should have all 5 words written down on your whiteboard now, and each one of them is a shorter version of what I've got on my spinner. So taking 2 words and pushing it together and pushing out a letter and replacing it with an apostrophe. So our 5 words this week, our tricky words, are all what we call contractions, okay? So what's missing? Mrs. Wood has written some sentences, and I want you to tell your grown-up, or you could circle it on your whiteboard, which word is missing in my sentence. So have a little look at my sentence. Blank been to the beach today. So blank been to the beach today. And I've also used speech marks here because we said earlier that contractions are often what we use when we are speaking rather than writing. So it's quite a relaxed way of speaking. I've, what, that. We wouldn't usually use a letter. Maybe a text message, but not in an important letter or an email. So something been to the beach today. So circle the word on your whiteboard, our tricky word from this week that you think goes in that gap there. You should have circled I've been to the beach today. Okay, what's missing? Something. My house over there. Something. My house over there. Something. My house over there. So circle the word, your tricky word that you think belongs in that missing gap there. That's. So instead of saying that is my house over there, that's my house over there, did you circle that? Okay. I blank do it. I've got a picture across here. I blank do it. I blank do it. What could be the missing word there? I blank do it. I didn't do it. Did you circle didn't on your whiteboard? I didn't do it. Okay. That blank my coat. That blank my coat. What are we missing there? That blank my coat. That isn't my coat. So instead of saying that is not my coat, that isn't my coat. Okay, so all of our tricky words for this week are on the board in front of you. We've got isn't, what's, that's, didn't, and Ives. So my phonics challenge today is to think of your own sentences using our contractions for our tricky words this week. So remember, let's recap. We've got isn't, which is short for is not. What, which is short for what is. Didn't, which is short for did not. I've, which is short for I have. And that, which is short for that is. Okay, I can't wait to see your work, year 2. Well done. Today was tricky words. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.